Welcome to goCapeBreton.com Movers and Shakers, where we have conversations with people who are making things happen here in Cape Breton. I'm Richard Lorway, president of goCapeBreton.com, and in this episode, we're speaking with Harman Singh, CEO of Breton Ability Centre in Sydney, Nova Scotia. Welcome, Harman.
Thank you, Richard. Happy to be here.
Lovely. So maybe we can start, if you could tell us a bit about yourself. How long have you been with Breton Ability Centre?
Sure. So I joined the organization in 2012, December, and I transitioned from the Nova Scotia Health Authority, where I was for about 18 years prior to this. And I've been here. I started in the role of the psychologist at first, and then moved quickly into the director's role, the director of resident supports and services. And then in 2018, I transitioned to the CEO role after the previous CEO retired, and there was a competition. So that's how
Gotcha.
I
So
came in.
when you were with the health authority, were you living in Halifax then?
No, I was in Sydney. I actually I'm very proud to call Cape Breton my home. I
Excellent.
immigrated to Cape Breton in 1992, and Remembrance Day 1992. And I've always stayed here, and I worked at University College of Cape Breton. That was my first job as a lecturer, and then I moved to the Nova Scotia. It was the Cape Breton Hospital at that time in 1998, and in between there, I worked for the Department of Community Services as well. So yeah,
Gotcha. So you've been here for a while on our island.
yes.
So can you tell me a bit about the mission of the
Sure.
Breton Ability Centre?
Sure. So, really, put simply, we call it our cultural statement or a mission is really creating an innovative environment which promotes teamwork, learning, wellness, and safety as we enrich the lives of people who we support. And essentially, we want to improve the lives of people with varying abilities. So,
Yes, and so I know you offer a range of services. Um, can you describe for me a bit how the underlying philosophy about delivering services to your clients has changed over the years? Because I know it has changed.
oh, it has changed dramatically, and I think when the UN Convention was ratified and the rights for persons with disabilities really was put in the forefront, where it was made very clear, and it is legal now that they have the rights just like you and me do. It meant that services needed to evolve with that. And what that was that very old-fashioned, archaic, custodial model of care, where the philosophy of doing for people, and their disability really overshadowing the person they were. The services that are now offered, and particularly at Breton Ability Centre, is what we refer to as a social model of support. And essentially, what the social model of support says is that it is society that creates the disability. By constantly putting all these barriers in place. We patronize people with disabilities, and the services that we offer is about giving people the choices. We try to educate them about dignity of risk. And so the services have evolved from a very custodial model of care to a very rights-based choice model of support. And we don't talk about it in the terms of care, we talk about it in terms of supporting the person to really becoming the best of themselves in as much as they can.
Right. So did you just say dignity of risk?
Yes.
Can you elaborate on that a bit?
Sure. So, quite often what happens is that, a lot of our decisions when we are supporting people who are, who require more levels of support, is we are very risk averse ourselves. So I'll give you a simple example. As you know, there used to be curfew times at the old Braymore home, which is, which what was Breton Ability Centre. And it was expected that, people, adults, who would access community had to be back in the building at this time, and the doors were locked.
Right.
And it was, and then when we kind of changed our philosophy, we said, do we have curfews for our adult children? Do we tell our adult children, you have to be back home at this time? No, we don't. You know
Right.
how do we shift that? And the staff, you have to understand their perspective. They're very afraid of one thing going wrong and it making the headlines. So
Gotcha.
they're always very risk averse. Let's
Yes.
protect them, so at least everything will be safe. They come from a very good, kind place in their heart, but it is also limiting the growth of the person.
Right.
So and since then so many things have happened. I mean, when you look at legalization of cannabis, right?
Right.
The staff are very concerned that if residents are using cannabis, and how does it interact with drugs and this and that. But it's a choice that they have to make. We have to inform them of the risks, and
Right.
we have to allow them to take those risks, and
Right.
hope that eventually the risk that the decision that the individual makes, if they have the capacity to make decisions, you know it's hopefully going to be the right one for themselves. We can't impose our own values on other people. If I think smoking cannabis is not right, that doesn't mean that nobody around me can. It's a choice thing, right?
Right. Of course. Yes.
So that is really what we are really. And it was a huge shift for our staff, because they were like, um, so we just let them do whatever we want, and we said, well, we support them to do what they want in a safe, meaningful way. And that includes teaching them, talking to them, sitting down with them, just like you would with anybody else,
Right.
right? And that's really what the crux of it is.
So in a way, it's viewing them as the client more so
Yeah.
than um, the charge or the, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. So can you talk a bit about so your organization has many parts to it, and
Yeah.
one of which is obviously retail, Best of Cape Breton. But what other sort of divisions do you have, and what kind of services do you offer?
So one of the things that I'm very passionate about is about wrapping services around people with intellectual disabilities and offering something for everyone. So what that requires is really an array of services. So when you look at it, there is everything. So we offer everything from, of course, we offer living support, which is, available at our large building and in community homes in Cape Breton. But then we also offer learning opportunities, and it starts from very basic living skills, which is offered in a very specialized classroom based on the teach model of approach, which is very structured teaching. So this is for individuals who require intense levels of support. So we have that tier, which is your, the highest tier of support. They require a lot of facilitation, and then they go through training hubs. So we have in our Learning and Employment Center, we run a cafe, which is a training hub where they learn, skills to work in hospitality. They cook over there. We have a boutique, a used clothing boutique, where they learn how to, sort clothing, clean clothing, price it, sell it, manage the till. We have a print shop, a fully, it's one of our social enterprises called the Print Shop, where they learn how to collate print material, etc. And then we have an assembly, woodworking, we have the Bottle Depot, and we have the Best of Cape Breton, which is our what I would say is, when people are trained at our Learning and Employment Center, they can then use that as an entryway into mainstream employment, hopefully finding supported employment opportunities within Cape Breton.
Right. So just speaking to things like the print shop and the other services that you provide, how do you find customers for that? Do you reach out through business organizations like the chamber, or like what methods do you?
We've actually, I have to tip my hat to the Cape Breton community. We have, I think, we have an advantage because we live in such a generous and a wonderful community. And initially it was word of mouth, but in the last couple of years, we've really ramped up our social media. Our Facebook page is very active, and we have our engagement is totally amazing with the community. So anytime we put an ask out there, we get people, and our bottle recycling program is very successful. And all these programs, um, all the money generated through this program goes 100% back into client programming. So, all the money that we make, it goes back to support resident programs, like, taking them for trips. Our residents go to the hockey games with the Eagles. Of course, the last 2 years or last year, it's been a little bit difficult. They go out to different things that happen in the community. That's not funded by government. That's funded through our charitable, which
Gotcha.
is
Yeah.
support. Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any new projects that have coming down the pike that you're able to talk about?
There is lots happening.
I'm sure there
it's
is.
it's actually a very exciting time because as you know, the Nova Scotia government is transforming its supports for persons with disabilities, and it is really about re-envisioning large facilities like Breton Ability Centre. So the goal is to eventually transition as many people that can transition into smaller community-based options. So, which means that we are going to be, in line for more community homes. So that is the biggest piece of work that we are doing. Okay. But that's not going to happen automatically, Richard, because, for community inclusion to happen, we have to have the community ready to welcome people into communities. Now, Breton Ability had two homes in 2013. We are now at 9 homes. So, we are growing exponentially in terms of our community-based living options. But it requires a lot of awareness, it requires a lot of education, so that's a big piece. So we are hoping through our social media campaigns, through our Christmas campaigns, we are creating that awareness. And our Best of Cape Breton also is a great opportunity for people to see what individuals are able to do rather than see them as for their disability. So that's a big piece. The community awareness piece is huge. The other piece is, of course, we have to now start to look at expansion of programs that we have here. And there are opportunities for expansion of programs like our Learning and Employment Center. Breton Ability also offers an outreach program for the entire Cape Breton island. So we have two behavior interventionists that offer services and supports all across the island. So we're looking at expanding that program. And then I don't want to miss the work that we have to do with our staff. We have fabulous staff that have worked here for many years. This transition is very big for them. So the staff training piece is a huge piece. So that's another important piece of work that I'm working at different provincial tables with respect to, what will staff need to support people in the community? It's a totally different support model. You know,
Right.
uh,
Right.
you don't have the number of people around you. You're in a home with 3 people. So what happens if something goes wrong? How do you support that person? So all those things have to be, staff need that, and staff safety is one of our biggest mandates. So
Of
that
course.
is
Yeah.
that is huge. And then recruitment is a huge challenge. I mean, community inclusion will mean lots and lots of jobs. We will need twice the workforce that we need now to move people into the community. So that work is also very important. So that's another thing that's happening. So we're a hopping place. And despite the pandemic, I mean, the pandemic, of course, kind of put us off grid, but all this work still kind of continued, right? Because the government is very committed to moving people into home.
In fact, that's a good, that was going to be my next question was, how have your practices changed during the pandemic, and has it made it easier, harder, the same, and it has changed the level of support you get from government?
You know, I honestly, and I'm not just saying this, I have to say that I was amazed at the level of support that we got from the Department of Community Services. We are funded by the Department of Community Services. And when the pandemic hit in March of 2020, we were all in a forest looking for a way out.
Hmm.
And it was flying by the seat of your pants. I mean, PPE was your biggest need in March before it became vaccines, right? And I have to say, everybody was a phone call away. I could get the chief medical officer of health on the phone if I wanted. I could call the executive director at community services, and she would answer my phone call, whether it was 10 o'clock at night. And whatever we needed to keep people safe, and when I say people, I mean staff and residents, we were given. So the commitment to keep people safe and to get to support us, we worked together. There was immense leadership at all levels. And I seriously, I cannot say that, it was truly a defining moment in terms of how people get together in a time of crisis. And we got through it. We knock on wood. We didn't have a single case, and we are a
Wow.
congregation.
Yeah.
So,
So I wonder if the kind of access you just described, I mean, Nova Scotia is a small province. We're a small community, but then Nova Scotia is a small province. And, I wonder if you had been in Ontario, for example, if you would have had that kind of access to senior, you know, people to be able to make quick
right.
decisions.
And that's the beauty of Cape Breton, right? That's the beauty of living in a small province. And I'm a firm believer. My leadership philosophy is leadership through relationships. I believe that strong relationships pay bigger dividends than any other course that you can ever take. And you can get the best MBA from Harvard, wherever, but at the core of every leadership is your ability to form those meaningful relationships. And that's what paid off for me and for so many others, right? So that's the advantage, and I say that in Nova Scotia is, like, I can call, Derek Mumberkett, he's my MLA. I can call him on the phone and he will answer me right away. If he's busy, he'll say, I'll call you back. But I don't think I would get it in a bigger city or in a bigger province, right?
No, no, I suspect not. It's a, it cuts both ways, right? Because, in a small town, everybody's willing to help, but
Yeah.
also everyone knows your business, right? So,
That
yeah,
that is true. So, and if your business is good, it's good. But I always say human nature is very strange. You can do 10 good things and you do one bad thing, people will remember you for that one bad thing.
well, they certainly love to talk about it more than the good things, that's for sure. Is there anything else you'd like to share?
I think really the biggest thing is that transformation is happening, and what we are looking for the community, for Cape Breton in particular and in Sydney, is more and more of our residents will now be accessing the community, and there is, not in my backyard is a huge issue. People are still a little bit nervous about a small option home going into their neighborhood. But, we have had such success in residential neighborhoods in Sydney that, we've had some not so very pleasant experiences, but we always try to work with neighborhoods and people to make sure that that relationship is formed. that we welcome our residents back into the community where they belong and where they should be living, just like you and I. So.
Perfect. Well, thanks so much. Thanks for being with me today and sharing your story with our viewers. That was Harman Singh, CEO of Breton Ability Centre in Sydney, Nova Scotia.